should you need a little defense in your life, you just need to bring the San Francisco 49ers into your life, because there's an awful lot of defense being played by the 49ers. We're very happy to go inside the Niners locker room, presented by Harris Ranch Beef. Visit your local Chavez supermarkets for all your beef and tailgate needs. Azeez Al-Shaair, nice enough to join us here on Damon and Ratto. Azeez, we've been having an opportunity to talk to you over the last few years. You're one of our favorites. We think you got one of the coolest stories. You got a heck of a background, man, and you've really turned yourself into a great player. That's an important piece of a great defense. So it's great to have you on again, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
So let's talk about this shutout streak, because there were just a couple of times where it felt like the odds were just against it happening. I mean, a flag in the end zone means more cracks, 1st and goal from the 5, but you guys, you kept it up. And this 4-game second-half shutout streak is really extraordinary. And then to go a full game, you put it all together, 94 minutes of shutout football played by this defense over your last 94 minutes. It's unbelievable, and it's obviously very much a point of pride with you guys.
No, 100%. I think it's something that none of us really were paying much attention to. Obviously, you're just playing the game and doing what we're doing over the weeks. And then, obviously as it went from 1 game to 2 games to 3 games, then you start to hear about it. And honestly, it's a special team, it's a special defense, and a special group of guys. So we all just play together, play for each other, and so that's how you can make stands like that, like you saw last Sunday. Like, they had so many different chances to get points, and to come up with 0 points every time they had gotten to the red zone, into the goal line, that's huge.
So there's
huge for our defense, obviously.
There's no right answer. It's an opinion. In your opinion, what do you think is the greater accomplishment? Just shutting out a team in any one game, or having second-half shutouts against 4 different opponents over the entire month of November? What's harder to put together? 4 great halves over the course of a month with changing opponents, or 4 great quarters of shutout football?
I mean, they both definitely have their own problems. Present their own problems, and it's hard to win games in the NFL, period. So obviously the 4 weeks of wins, but also shutting teams out is big. But I mean, anytime you stop any offense in the NFL from scoring any points it's almost like unheard of, I feel like. And obviously you see that the Saints been a good offense, and the last time that they went without points was 21 years ago, or however long ago it was. So I mean, it just shows you, like, it's not too often in the NFL, period, that a team holds anybody to 0 points. Like, this isn't college, this isn't high school. So these are the best of the best on the field. So I think that that's obviously like something that's really just unheard of.
As specifically as you can you tell me what the defense has done differently since the Kansas City game? Because that game, you gave up 44 points. You haven't given up 44 total since then. So clearly some sort of epiphanies happened. Can you get into much detail about that?
I mean, obviously at the time I was on IR and wasn't playing at that time.
So was you.
That's the difference right there.
I would like to say that. It sounds good. But nah, honestly, I just think coming together, playing team football, obviously it has a lot to do with not just us as a defense, but the offense. We got to play together and play with each other. So I just think that everybody was executing at a way higher level. Obviously, when you get a good pass rush going, it helps out the back end. When you get stickier coverage, it helps out with the pass rush. So I think it's just kind of everything started to click together, and we've been going on a good run. So
Azeez Al-Shaair here on 95.7 The Game. So you got the Miami Dolphins coming into town, and it's a team with an awful lot of familiar faces. Obviously, Mike McDaniel, Trent Sherfield, and, of course, the 2 running backs, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr., who was standing in the same locker room with you just a few weeks ago. Have you already led into texting with anyone? I know that Raheem Mostert was trying to give his own quarterback a compliment, and it was turned into, is that a shot at Jimmy? Have you guys talked about that? Do you got a little something extra waiting for Raheem this weekend?
Nah, honestly, like, Raheem and everything that he went through with the organization, from, upstairs standpoint, it's business. So I respect, how he might feel in certain aspects of that, because everybody has to deal with the business side of football. But I don't never take that personal and let that affect, the relationship you have with the players. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. He's trying to make as much money for his family and play football, and I'm trying to do the same thing. So, I don't take it personal. I'm not going to try to hit him no harder than I was trying to hit them last week. So, at the end of the day, I know he's going to give it everything he has, and we're going to do the same. So it's going to be a nice matchup.
Miami's one of the most dynamic offenses in the game. In what ways are they structurally different than Kansas City, which is the other elite offense in the game?
Yeah, I think they definitely run a lot more 21 personnel, which is good for me at least. But, I think that they are very explosive. I think they have the most explosives in the league. Between three of the guys, they have, I think it's 80 or 60 explosives, something crazy like that, which, is unheard of for just three players alone, let alone the rest of the team. So I think, obviously, in that aspect, they're just as, explosive and dynamic as Kansas City, but they can do it out of multiple personnel groups. So it's just pretty special to see.
Azeez, as you get ready for the Dolphins, is there any element of looking in a mirror that comes to you? Do you see a lot of Kyle Shanahan's fingerprints imprinted on Mike McDaniel and installed into what the Dolphins do?
100%. Like, it's literally feels like we're in training camp almost. Like, obviously, Coach McDaniels was here for some time, and but they're both play hand in hand into each other. So I think him and Kyle, being around each other and being together for so long, I think that goes back as far as like Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. But they've been together for a long time. They're good friends, and obviously, like, you see that same print with the Dolphins as we have with our offense. So it's definitely going to be familiar to see, and then obviously the players is going to be familiar as well for some of those guys.
Do you see a lot of familiarity week in, week out? Because we've heard that Kyle Shanahan's running game has been studied and adapted in many, many NFL cities. Does it feel like you're playing against a familiar scheme based on, hey, Mike McDaniels is the head coach or not? Do you see a lot of the run packages that your team runs that you prepare against just by playing them in practice? Do you see a lot of the copycat in the league?
Yeah, I think obviously whenever you have a team that's had success like our team has, and a coach that has, high success like Kyle has, people are going to get plucked left and right. They're going to study your team and study your offense and seeing how you're successful in different ways. So, I know ever since I first got into the league, they always said it's a copycat league. Teams are going to attack you with how somebody else was able to be successful against you and vice versa. So I think it's just one of those things where everybody's always trying to find that edge and trying to find that way to, get your Achilles heel. So if they see on film something that's working across the league, they're going to try to copycat that and take that and implement it into their offense however they can, or, we will do it in our defense however we can to get that edge over the team we're playing that week.
Conversely, how many different things are you guys seeing now because you've established yourself as you did in 2019 as an elite defense? What are the more exotic things that teams are trying to show you in hopes of getting you off your beam?
Obviously, I think, and this is something that does come from Kyle's offense as well, is just a lot of moving parts, jet motion, stuff like that. People try to get you out your gaps, whether it's even like last week playing the Saints, they couldn't run the ball when we were in base, so they did a lot of different stuff to try to get us in nickel and try to run the ball then, and they were trying to pass the ball out of 12 personnel. So just trying to find like little sneaky, unique ways to do what they want to do. You think, they're getting big to run, and then they're trying to throw the ball because they can't run the ball in that personnel, but they think they can get a better opportunity with passing the ball with the bigger personnel group. So, it's kind of like this little weird chess match throughout the year, and you kind of have to do a lot of, like, self-scouting to, like, see, where were you hurt throughout the weeks, what's bothered you, what's bothered the defense, what has, kind of burnt us, and making sure that you're, like, keeping up with your mistakes and making sure that you're correcting them. Because if you don't correct them, it's going to bite you when you need it the most.
Azeez Al-Shaair here on 95.7 The Game. Look, a lot of humble men come from humble beginnings. And your beginnings are extraordinary. I was listening to an interview you did a long time ago with one of our station co-hosts, Mark Willard. It was years ago, where you were at the dawn of your career, and the story of how you got to the Niners in the first place, included international stops where your family moved from Florida to Saudi Arabia. You come back, you see your home burnt down. You are rendered homeless. You take a bus 2 hours to high school. You always remembered that, and it always stayed with you. And look at where you are now, very much an established NFL entity with a contract that is, a life-changing situation for you. And I know you're not resting on any laurels. It's not time to do that. But how good is it to have come as far as you've had through everything that you've had? Because I think it's just one of the cooler stories happening right now on the 49ers.
Oh, I appreciate that. And honestly, it's something where you constantly got to take a step back. Because I think when you're like in this like rush of what I'm trying to accomplish and the things that I want to do, as an individual, realizing like, I'm 25 years old, and 10 years ago, if somebody told me I was just going to be in the NFL, I would have been, crying and happy. So I think as you reach these goals, you have this constant battle between the gratitude and like content for where you are, but at the same time still, trying to pursue your goals and reach greater heights because you know that you can do better. So I definitely, take that step back at times and just, have a lot of gratitude for where I am. But definitely, like, it's just something that I couldn't put into words how grateful I am to be where I am right now compared to where I was years ago.
To a smaller degree, do you reflect on how you're different from even last year, and then how much better you are? How much easier the game seems to be than it was a year ago or 2 years ago?
No, 100%. I think every year, just seeing the same things over and over again, you can see it through most players across the league. Like usually, the more times that you get to do the same things, you're going to get better at it before you get worse, unless you just, if you get worse at it, then you probably won't be here for long. But honestly, like just being able to be in the same scheme for another year, doing the same thing, get my body stronger, getting faster, more explosive. Like every year I just feel like I come back better than I was the year before, and just continue to try to take those next steps in my game and be a player that, could be one of the best in the league. So that's always my goal. That's always, I think our goal as a linebacker group is what we always say. But definitely, like, even as an individual, that's something I want to accomplish and I want to do for myself.
Again, we talked about how humble your nature is, Azeez, but I'd like you to thump your chest just a little if you'd like to, because it looks to me like you guys have a stud at every level of this defense, more than one at every level of this defense. But if you had to take one unit, and it's hard to be a better unit than the 49ers defensive line, but this linebacking core is absolutely in the conversation between you, Greenlaw, Fred Warner. Not only are you individually getting better, they're individually getting better, and it feels like as a unit, you guys are just all fitting together as pieces that have to cover a football field. Does it feel like everyone gets better every week all around this team? Because that's the way it looks.
No, 100%. I think when you're around, it's so crazy. I was talking to Lino about this, our rookie linebacker. I was talking to him about this just yesterday because I was just telling him about when I was a rookie. And, when you're around a group of guys that are held to such a high standard, and the standard is so great, around this team, that you have no choice but to get better, or you're just going to get weeded out, and that's kind of how it is. Like, it's gonna build you up to be better because, you're practicing against the guys we're practicing against. You're in the room with some of the guys that we get to be in the room with. Like, you have no choice but to continue to get better. You talk about all of us as linebackers, from really head to toe in that room, like, everybody has gotten so much better than the four of us that's been able to be together over the last 4 years with me, Fred, Dre, and Demetrius. Like, we've been together for 4 years now. I think like every single year we've all gotten better every single year and competed with each other, but also, it's always been love, and we're literally like brothers. So we all just help each other, all motivate each other, and just continue to try to be great.
Is there something to like not just your own instincts, but a group's instincts? Is this why there were 8 guys around Alvin Kamara's second fumble? I mean, that's gang tackling personified. When you get 8 guys from one defense in one picture, it means everybody's swarming.
No, 100%. It's definitely, like, obviously swarm is what we preach as a defense and as a unit. But it's funny because that's literally every time we're watching film with Kyle, that's what he points out, how many guys are in the picture by the time the ball gets snapped. I mean, by the time the runner gets tackled or whatever, just seeing 10, 11 guys in the picture, 8, 9, like, it's just not something that's common around the NFL. You watch a lot of teams play, and even if it's a great play or something like that, like you might see 2, 3 guys in the picture, but everybody else is kind of just, watching. And we take pride in getting to the ball and finishing, and making sure everybody's in that picture when the play is over with.
Did you just say I remind you of an NFL head coach? Do I think like an NFL head coach? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, man, you might be able to take a job.
Oh, yes, sign me up. I'm ready to go. I hear it pays a little bit better than radio. Maybe I'll consider if offered. Azeez, let me offer you this because it's been great to talk to you, man. It really has. Our friends at Harris Ranch Beef are going to send you 10 pounds of prime steaks, and you get your own choice of cut. Do you want the ribeye, the porterhouse, or the New York strip?
I'm not going to lie to you. I really couldn't decide which one, but I will let you decide for me, and I'll trust your better judgment.
Okay, so if we sent you the porterhouse, that's like a T-bone steak. You get a New York strip on the side, and then the other side is the filet. The New York strips are just going to be that New York strip from the one side, and if you get the ribeye, that's the most amount of fat and meat equals flavor, so it's probably the beefiest of all cuts. So do you want the biggest piece of meat, the toothiest piece of meat, or the beefiest piece of meat?
I'll say the beefiest.
Beefiest piece of meat it is. We're going to send you the New York strips. No, that would be the toothy. We're sending you the ribeyes. The correct answer whenever you're ordering steak is basically ribeye. You can never go wrong with a ribeye. We're sending you the ribeyes. We're going to take care of you because you took care of us with such a great interview. Thank you so much for stopping on by. Continued success to you and yours, and stay healthy and keep shutting them out in the second half, Azeez. Thank you so very much.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.